Hey guys, Semphis here. Just want to make a quick video on my top 5 of the year. Um, Epic Center just ended, and I feel like that's a good time to make a video after all the terms are kind of wrapped up. So right here we have big events for 2019 selected on hltv.org. So that should get rid of some of the tier 2 and tier 3 farming that could have happened if you went to like a DreamHack Open or something. Um, Kind of a little bit unfair if one player goes to like three kind of smaller tournaments and kind of just racks their stats up. So we'll keep it to big events only. So it's kind of funny because the rating system that they use are kind of pretty much my top 5 that I would have picked regardless. So maybe not in this exact order, but I mean, naturally you can make cases for like Naf, Breeze, Nico, Crims had a really awesome start of the year. But I think what separates these top 5 from the next people on the list is generally just consistency throughout the whole year. I mean, I think everyone's seen some players they'll have a really awesome streak of 1, 2, 3 months, but to keep it up for an entire year, 2 years, 3 years, in some cases like Device, that's when it becomes like very problematic. I always think getting to the top's easier than remaining on the top for most teams and players. So going into it, I want to do it kind of like a couple different ways. So first off, um, just for fun, this is just my opinion. So take it for whatever you want. There's not really like a right answer here. These are just like kind of like what I would do personally. So if someone was to give me, infinite money, I can just build a team of any player that I want, but I got to pick one to kind of like base it around, and you can't have any of the other players in the top 5, or we'll say top 10. We can't have any other players from this list on the team. I personally would pick Zaiwu as a player to build a top team around, just because I feel like he's so consistent. The op role is probably the most important role in the game, in the sense that like you don't want to spend all this money and all these resources and pump it into a player that isn't performing. I think it's okay, if you have a player like Skadoodle who's like a support player opper, he's throwing a lot of utility, that's fine, but you wouldn't build a team around it. So if you're going to build a team around a star opper, you'd do it around Zaiwu. Obviously, there's a bunch of different opping styles, but like if you look at this guy, you go watch a Zaiwu demo. This guy's always performing. He doesn't miss easy shots, which as an opper, honestly, that's mostly what you want. It doesn't really matter if you hit really sick flick 180, 360, 69 degree fucking no scopes. It just, if the guys run off cat on Dust 2, you want to op them. Like you just want to hit those easy shots. That's all. You don't need to go and peek mid and kill the opper and T-spawn. In fact, that generally is not going to work out most of the time, right? So someone like Zaiwu, who's just so consistent, he's got good rifles, good pistols, um, seems to be a good team player. Obviously, I've never played with him. Maybe he's just the most toxic player ever, and it's just really well kept secret. But somehow I doubt it. He looks pretty chill, so I would personally pick him. I just think he's so consistent, and he would just fit so well in like so many different teams, lineups, strats. I really think you could kind of plug this guy into most teams, and it would probably work out for the best for him. So that's what I would pick for if I was going to build a team around someone. If I just wanted someone, however, to just like straight up carry a bunch of noobs, I still think I'd pick Simple for that. Just because I don't know if you've ever been a smart player, or if you ever try to play passively, if your teammates kind of collapse around you, it becomes very difficult. For someone like Zaiwu, that he's immensely skilled and he'll get 30 plus kills versus the best teams in the world. If his teammates are just collapsing on all sides of the map, I don't think he'll be able to do as well as someone like Simple. This guy kind of just can play on his own a little bit more. He's more a kind of grimy of a player. He's going to go for like crazy op peaks. He's the guy that's going to pick mid on Dust 2, go cat, push up or B tunnels. So I think if I just wanted to get fucking straight up carried, at like a local LAN or something like that, I think I'd pick Simple for that. But in terms of building a real team, I think Zaiwu would probably be the safe bet. just picking any solid opper for to build a team around is probably the safe bet because that's like there's so many more riflers, just that exist. I mean, obviously it's nice to have a Nico or a Liege or someone on your team, but um, finding an all-star opper is worth a lot in my opinion. Second part, we'll go who's mechanically the most skilled. Um, so of all the people on this list, outside the top five, I don't necessarily think that being the most mechanically skilled player is going to necessarily make you the best player. You could walk around like Scream has the highest headshot percentage of any pro for every year on HLT.org, but that doesn't necessarily translate him to being the best player or even like the best player on his team. So when it comes to like something like that, I think um, mechanics only get you so far. Obviously, game sense, teamwork, that kind of stuff plays a huge part. But if we're talking strictly mechanics, I'd still probably rate Nico pretty high, at least when it comes to um, like the main rifles. So if you give Nico like an AK, a Deagle, an AWP, USP, those type of guns, like he's going to be very efficient. He's going to not use a lot of bullets. All his kills are going to be crisp. He's got good spray control. He can one tap better than almost anyone. I think Twist is kind of on a similar page to Nico, although Twist isn't quite as consistent. I'd rate these two as very mechanically gifted players. Elige as well. I would still think I'd rate Nico as being like the most mechanically like accurate player who has the most control over his kind of crosshair, but when Elige comes to spraying, like I don't think there's anyone that's better at spraying than Elige. Electronic is very good as well, but I mean I've seen Elige. I've watched so many Liquid games. This guy, a lot of people will say like, oh, they're just eco frags, or whatever. But I've seen this guy spray down 3 or 4 people on eco rounds, and they have like P250s and stuff, and it looks so easy. It's just like a beam of bullets that goes straight to all their heads. And anyone that's played this game, you can't talk shit about farming ecos because ecos aren't free. Everyone's been 1D P250 trained. It's not so if you have a player that can just always get 3 or 4 on ecos, that's good. That means you're not going to get ecoed as much, right? So that's still a value. I've also seen obviously on gun rounds he'll do crazy shit as well. There's that Mirage clip where he's connector and he like peeks out. I think it's just a pug, but he like sprays 4 people all in different spots in the same spray. Personally, I could never fucking do that. Like, I will never have a spray like that. I have a better chance doing what Zywoo does than I do with Elige, personally. Like, I even have a better chance to one-shot, like, 3 people with a Deagle than I do spraying like Elige. I don't know. I've never been too hot about, like, with my spray, personally. So, I always think that's pretty impressive. When it comes down to, like, just who can get the most kills with, like, all guns, I think that's where a player like Simple, Breeze, um, Electronic to an extent, but he doesn't really op or scout that much, so I still kind of like put Simple up there. I don't think that if you watch Simple, you'll think he mechanically is better than someone like Nico or Elige. Like, but he's so good with every gun. Like he's got he's got one of the best ops, maybe the best op in the world. He's got a insane deagle. He can Tech 9 people, ump them, Mac 10, MP9, all the fucking weird guns. He can Krieg, he can AUG. Like every gun, it seems like he can win around with. Galil, FAMAS. Whereas like I feel like you give Nico a Galil or Simple. I'd rather have Simple with a Galil trying to win the round for me personally. Elite is kind of similar in that sense. He's good with like the kind of like grimier weapons that people maybe don't buy as much, but like that just makes you more well-rounded. So like the most the most efficient killer with every weapon, I would probably give the Simple. But watching Simple, it's just like it's almost like he plays like a different game than everyone else. Like the way that he does things doesn't really always make sense to me. Like if I watch a Simple demo, I'm not like I can't replicate what he does round for round. Whereas like if I watch Device or I watch Zywoo, like I can go play, Arch on Inferno, take a shot, fall back to Library, take a shot, throw a molly behind a smoke. You know what I mean? Like I can replicate those. Maybe not hit all the shots that Zywoo hits. Obviously, Zywoo's like one of the most skilled players, but in terms of like play style and hitting the shots, like I feel like if I really tried, I could replicate these guys way more than Simple or Nico or someone like that. Like when you have that kind of play style and skill, like it's a lot more of like knowing their own limits and they can kind of get away with things. I also think that you have some sort of fear factor, like if you're Simple and you're in a 1v3, people are less likely to just rush at you and try to kill you than they are if like um, they're playing versus, you know, it's looking like Liaz. You know what I mean? Like people are going to show a different amount of respect and give you more room. And if you show someone too much respect, they can punish you from that. So, yeah, mechanically, I'd probably give it to Nico. Overall killing ability, probably Simple. Although there are other people that I would rate highly as well, like Liege. Zywoo's good with a lot of weapons as well, but Zywoo doesn't. He plays a little bit safer. You know what I mean? Like so, he's less likely to go crazy with like these stupid guns and buying like a mag or something. Obviously, super talented guy. I mean, look at his rating, right? Now, who do I has the top 5 players of the year? So originally, I probably would have had Elige higher. I think some of these players have dropped off a little bit at the end of the year. Breeze, Elige, Crims, like some of these guys had really good starts, first half, 6, 7 months, but over the last few months, maybe dropped a little bit. Granted, it is a little bit unlucky for people like Elige when they start facing Astralis in every finals, and if you lose, that's going to naturally kind of bring your stats down a bit. So if he was to have won those finals or not face them, there might be a chance that his stats would be a little bit higher, but either way, I'm going to put Electronic as 5th. I think this guy is probably top 3 rifler. I think Elige, Electronic, Nico, you can make a case for Twist, Breeze as well. But for me, I think Electronic's definitely like top 3 rifler. 4th, I'd probably put Elige. I wanted him a little bit higher, but I don't think I can justify it to myself. 3rd, I would probably put Simple 3rd. This isn't his best year. A lot of role changes. He went from an opper to a rifler. His in-game leader left. They got Guardian and a Boomich or whatever to call. So there's a lot of things that have happened in his team, but he still put up the second best rating of the year, and he's only zero point 0.1 FPR away from Zywoo with this kind of like weird scenario. So I'm going to put Simple 3rd. I wanted to put Device 1st, but Zywoo with the Epic Center MVP and just playing lights out pretty much the whole fucking year. I don't know, man. I really think like it's hard to say it. Like I really think like Device is so good, so consistent. Maybe the GOAT of Counter-Strike Global Offensive. He's been, the top player on a top team for longer than pretty much anyone besides like Forest. Forest Shocks are there, but I say Device consistently has been one of the top 5-10 players every year, where that's not the case with a lot of the other guys, even if they are still playing. So I put Device 2nd, and then I put Zywoo 1st. I don't know, his stats are too good. Like 0.84 FPR. No one on his team is even fucking close to him. I was also gonna say, like, look at this. If you look at just this list of players, right? So here, I'll even put it down a bit so there's more room. If you look at the people in the top 5, what do you notice? There's Zywoo. There's no other fucking dude. There's no one else on his team. There's no logo for anyone else on the team. Then you have Simple. So I'll open this up. So you have Zywoo, you have Simple, and then Electronic. You have Device, and then you have his next teammate on the list is Magix. Then you have Elige, whose next teammate is Naf. Now look at this. So you have Zywoo, 0.84, right? Now, the next person on his team with the highest stats is Apex with a 0.65 FPR. What does Shocks have? 0.64, 0.65 on Alex, and then RPK has a 0.6 FPR. So no one even breaks 0.65. So you have Zywoo with a 0.84 FPR and the rest of them hovering point point 0.6 and 0.65. That's fucking absurd. Then you look at someone like Simple. So Simple, 0.83, right? FPR, basically the same level as Iowa. They're probably fucking interchangeable. I mean, they're both godly. I think they're on another. Those two are on another level than everyone else. But then his teammate Electronic is at a 0.76. That's pretty close. If you look at it in a perspective, Device is at a 0.78. Magix is at 0.72. Then you look at Elige, 0.78, 0.72 for NAF. If you look at Electronic, he's basically at the same stats as the stars of the other teams. So you're looking at someone Simple basically has an Elige or like a device that he's playing with. Like the amount of firepower that Simple and Electronic bring to the team is fucking incredible. It's honestly sad that they haven't like won any big tournaments really or done better this year. So firepower wise, just an absurd amount on this team. Now, obviously, it's not taking anything away from these other players. They're all really good. I'm just saying, like, putting into perspective, like, it's kind of crazy if you look at everyone's teammates. Like, you can kind of see that Device has more Magics, Dupree, Zipniks are more closer to him than some of these other teams. You know, like Nico doesn't really have anyone, Zawu doesn't really have anyone. Simple's got Electronic. You know, that's all I'm saying. I found that interesting. Maybe no one else does. I don't fucking know. Anyways, Device, like I said, I really would have liked to have him first, but I think Zawu's too good. His is first year. He's 19. He comes out swinging with like 5 MVPs, like some of the best stats we've ever seen. It's just honestly incredible. So I'd put Zawu as the best player of the year. I find it hard not to. You can obviously make a case that Simple could be the best or second best player or third. You know what I mean? Like you can make the case. I just don't think he's played enough games at big tournaments. Like he's not. He doesn't have many MVPs. He hasn't won a ton of tournaments, so I don't think it's fair to really like put him higher. Skill wise, I still think he's the best player. Like even though Zawu's more solid, more of a rock, I still think Simple's like highest level is just like insane. I feel similar to Nico. I feel like when Nico's on fire, you kind of just like there's certain players like Nico, like he can beat Astralis kind of by himself, although it's not common, like it's possible for him. So some of these players where they have like super high levels, and I think Nico's one of those guys that just, you know, when it's his tournament, it's his fucking tournament. So yeah, basically those are my opinions on that. You guys tell me what you think. You know, feel free to disagree. You can give your reasons. I'm not going to get offended by it. It's just for fun. You know, none of this really matters. You know, there's honestly a ton of people that can be up there as well. So, anyways, just a fun little video. So yeah, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. I don't know. I don't know any other sayings, honestly. Yeah. Bye.